Today, we're talking about understanding narcissistic trauma. And so many times this is lost on everyone, actually, because we all experience narcissistic trauma in a way that we first initially feel it's our fault. And so we tend to blame ourselves. Victims of narcissists, survivors of narcissists, often spend a lot of time trying to understand what happened and let go of the ownership of it and recognize that it wasn't something that they did, but it was something that was put upon them that happened to them. So we're going to break that down a little bit today. Because it's really important to understand that narcissistic trauma is not your fault. It is your body's physiological actual response to what has been put upon you. So there's a science behind it, there's emotional impact, and there's actually physical changes that happen in our brain, and our nervous system actually physically responds. So it is not your fault. It's a physiological response to a trauma that was brought upon you. So we're going to break that down a little bit today so that you can have a better understanding, so that hopefully you can release some of that self-blame and ownership of the things that have happened to you, because it's not your fault. But the first thing that most people don't understand and most people need some clarity on is, what is narcissistic trauma? So narcissistic abuse, narcissism, isn't just about somebody being mean or rude or having a bad day or wanting to talk about themselves. Narcissistic trauma it's an ongoing emotional manipulation, and it's a chronic way of somebody being that actually rewires our brain and damages our sense of self. It damages our nervous system because it puts our nervous system into this fight or flight chronic state. And it's so damaging because it's wrapped in moments of peace and calm and love and friendship and good times, right? The thing that I always say is, the narcissist isn't always bad. If that was the case, it'd be so much easier for us to identify them and leave them, right? It's the going back and forth that makes it confusing, makes it a trauma bond that we'll talk about in a second, where it makes it so hard to leave. So it creates confusion, cognitive dissonance, where we're like, how we feel and what we see like don't match up. Gives us physical symptoms, right? Have you ever had where you just are so exhausted, or you're so on edge, or you're so anxious or depressed, and it's like, what's wrong? And you really can't put words to it. A lot of times that's a trauma response that our bodies have, because they're trying to signal to us that something's wrong. And so if we don't listen to it soon enough, our bodies will start like whispering to us, and then eventually our bodies will start yelling at us, right? Migraines, stomach problems, difficulty sleeping, all of those kinds of physical symptoms. And so a lot of times what I often hear is people will say, I feel crazy. A lot of times what I often also hear is, I feel like I'm in high school. Like, this whole thing feels just ridiculous. Like, why should I be feeling this way? Why should this person be acting this way? Why should I be so confused? Why should I feel so uncomfortable having a conversation with this other person? And that's not you being crazy or sensitive. It's trauma. And it's narcissistic trauma, because narcissistic trauma is actually different. It's different from like a trauma where you can go back to one point, like if you were in a plane crash, right? Everybody, and here's another reason that's different too. Everybody in your life, if you said, I was in a plane crash and it was traumatic, everybody in your life would be like, oh my gosh, I totally understand. What do you need? How can I help? With narcissistic trauma, it's slow, it's subtle, and it's layered, and it's invisible. And it's hard to find words to it. And if somebody hasn't experienced it, when you try to explain it to them, they're going to be like, are you, what? I don't understand. Like, most of what I hear people say, both survivors and the flying monkeys, well, it's not like they hit you, right? They don't see that the trauma is still there, even though it's not something that's visible, such as a bruise or a cut or a break. or it's not something visible and like easily identifiable to some other person, like a plane crash, right? And so narcissistic trauma is very different, both in the way that we can identify it and in the way, also in the way that other people can understand it and support us in it. And so you may have experienced, trying to figure out how this narcissist has caused trauma. It doesn't look like a plane crash. It's soft and subtle and layered and slow. And it could be hot and cold behavior. It could be silent treatment. It could be gaslighting. It could be love bombing. It could be discarding. It could be a smear campaign. And all of those things can happen in the same day with a narcissist. And it's very much the confusion of not knowing what to expect next. And this pattern happening consistently over a long period of time is traumatic. It keeps, as I mentioned before, it keeps our nervous system in that fight or flight state. And that's not healthy. That causes like inflammation throughout our body. That causes, high cortisol, high adrenaline, all the things. And we're meant to, as humans, have those responses, right? Like if there's a fight or flight situation, God made us to be able to respond to threat. But what we're made to do is to sense a threat, respond, cortisol, adrenaline, right? Fight or flight. And then when we see that the threat has passed, we're meant to come down to baseline. With narcissistic trauma, we never get to come back down to baseline because we're always waiting up here in fight or flight, waiting for them to act up again, waiting for our nervous system to sense the threat again, because we never feel safe with a narcissist, right? Like once you've experienced that narcissistic mask falling and you've seen the narcissistic rage or the gaslighting or the 0 to a million and the million to 0, you never can feel safe, right? So your nervous system, that fight or flight, never comes back down to baseline. So we're chronically in a state of fight or flight, which again, adrenaline, cortisol, all of that like stays elevated. We're not meant to live like that. We're not meant to stay sustained like that. So, and it becomes like when people hear trauma bond, they think, oh, well, I didn't experience a trauma with this person. That's not a trauma bond. The simplest way that I can put it is a trauma bond is the same person that hurts you is also the person who heals you. So they are that person who causes the pain, but also the person that you go to that can make you feel better from the pain, right? Like, so if you have, say it's a significant other and they abandon you or they verbally abuse you or they physically abuse you and like they leave you and then they come back and soothe that pain and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I never want to do this again. I love you so much. You're so important to me. The person who hurt you is also the person who heals you. And that causes the trauma bond because it's that push and pull. And then our brain becomes addicted to the constant highs and lows of the push and pull of the good and the bad. And so our nervous system will literally just be trying to survive in this state, not knowing like what's to come next. And that then goes back to these are things that aren't visible to the outside world, right? And so it becomes that cycle of the push and pull, the what am I going to do next? What am I going to like experience next? Who's this person going to be the next time they call? Are they going to be there? Are they going to abandon me? Are they going to abuse me? Those all kinds of things. And then when they're wonderful, because again, narcissists aren't bad all the time. If they were bad all the time, it'd be so much easier. But it's because it's that give and take and it's the good and the bad that we get addicted to that. And then we're always waiting for the good person to show up. But the good person that sometimes shows up is not who they are. The terrible abusive person is who they are and is who you can count on them being. So as you go through this, you may wonder what you can experience or what other people experience and what is related to the trauma. So constant second guessing yourself is something that I hear often, something that I remember always going through or always feeling like I just remember being like, okay, when I'm out of the house, and this is before I knew anything about narcissism, when I'm out of the house and I'm around friends or even strangers, that's what got to me. When I'm around strangers, like I feel so seen. and I feel so accepted and I feel like just like myself. But when I go home and I'm with this person, that's when I feel like not valuable. I feel worthless. I feel powerless. I feel hopeless. I feel ugly. I feel dumb. I feel all of these things. I feel so out of place. And it was super confusing, right? Because it was just, and then I constantly was second guessing myself. Well, what am I doing wrong? Where at home, I don't feel this way, right? Where at home, I don't feel good like I do when I'm not at home. I was owning it, right? And so it's constant second guessing, walking on eggshells. Who has felt like that, where you're walking on eggshells around the person? And you might even notice that other people walk on eggshells around this person too, where they set the mood. I always say, like, one of the things, of course, you can't just diagnose somebody with narcissism and you can't just recognize them based on one thing, one trait on one day. But one thing that I've noticed consistently over working with narcissists and being around them is they set the mood in the room. Whether it's a grandiose narcissist who's like super like, I'm the greatest thing, or it's a covert narcissist who is like sulking and like going and trying to like sit away, in the basement or whatever. So everybody else comes and is like, you know, are you okay? Like they set the mood in the room. And walking on eggshells is what people do around these people. Feeling numb, disconnected, or shut down, where you just, because you're so confused, you're so exhausted from second guessing yourself. You don't know what the right thing to do is. And so your mind just kind of shuts you down to where you just exist, right? Like you're just trying to get from point A to point B and not upset the narcissist, not get your feelings too involved because it's exhausting to go from, oh my gosh, this person is really wonderful to, oh no, this is really who they are. Like, I hope this is the time that they actually stay and that good person that I remember meeting comes back, and then you're disappointed. It's exhausting. And so your bodies, our minds protect us by putting us into like this disconnected shutdown mode. Trouble making decisions. That is another thing that is a common symptom of victims and survivors of narcissists because we're so exhausted, right? We're so confused. We're so exhausted. We don't know what decisions to make because anything we think is good, then we get in trouble by the narcissist or we get some kind of, negative reaction from the narcissist. Anything we think is bad, like then they're celebrating because they think it's great. Things that feel bad to us seem to feel great to the narcissist. It's just very conflicting, very confusing. And then we also look and we're like, how did I allow this person in my life? Right. And there's a reason for that we'll get into on another training, but it's just so confusing. And that makes us start to doubt ourselves, doubt our ability to feel like we know ourselves, to feel like we can trust other people. And so we just question every decision, and we stop trusting our gut. And then feeling like you're never good enough. Is that something that resonates with you? The narcissist, their goal, right? The narcissist's goal when they first find you is you're an amazing person and I love everything about you, right? They idealize you and they want you to idealize them. And as soon as they realize that the character traits that you have that they wish they had don't go from you to them, they start to hate you for the traits that you have that they can't have, the goodness in you, the qualities in you that made you so attractive to them. They start to hate you and resent you for them because it doesn't automatically just transfer to them, and they get bitter and they don't want anybody else to be or feel more successful than they feel. And they hate themselves, right? Like they know that they don't have these qualities, although their ego wants them to believe that like they are better than anybody else. But their goal with a narcissist is to always break down the other person that they're in a relationship with, whether it's a boss employee relationship, a friend relationship, a spouse relationship, whatever. Their goal is to always see these amazing things and bring in, because they're like, I'm so amazing. So that's a protective factor that their brains lie to them about and tell them. And they're like, I'm going to bring in these amazing people because I only deserve the best people in my life. And then they bring you in and then they start to hate you for all of the good qualities you have. And so then they try to break you down. And the way they do that is they, of course, are verbally, emotionally, mentally abusive, and they make you start to doubt yourself, making you feel like you're never good enough. But I want you to know that these symptoms that you're feeling, these signs that you're feeling that we just talked about, these are not character flaws in you. These are trauma responses. Your brain and your body are trying to protect you from what it's been experiencing. And this doesn't mean that once the narcissist is gone, that these feelings go away. And they don't go away until you process through them and deal with them. And that's why we're here. So I'm very proud of you for being here. And so at this point, what we need to do is start to reframe our experiences. First of all, you did not ask for the abuse, right? You did not deserve it. It wasn't because of some character flaw in you that attracted this horrible person to you. It, in fact, is exactly the opposite. You are amazing. And that's why they wanted you, because a narcissist thinks they're the best person in the world. So they're not going to be like, oh, I want to find all these flawed people. No, they seek really great people and then try to break them down and make them feel like they're nothing. Doesn't mean that they've turned you into nothing. Those characteristics of you, that those qualities of you, they're still there. Your body has just put them kind of in hibernation to help protect yourself, right? It's a survival thing. So your qualities are not gone. They're hibernating. And the symptoms that you've been having are not character flaws. They're surviving trauma responses. So we're going to reframe this. You are not broken. It is not your fault, and you did not deserve this. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining things. What happened to you caused real harm, and it actually caused your nervous system and your brain. Like, trauma changes us. And the good news is we can change it back, right? But do not believe that it is your fault, and do not believe that you are broken, and do not believe that your future has to look like your past, because your future hasn't happened yet. So your body and your brain have adapted to survive. But moving forward, we're going to learn one strategy for you to take from this training to use so that you can start to feel better today, right? Totally healing from narcissism doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't mean you have to wait 6 months before you can start to move the needle and feel better. So what I'm going to do, this is like a check-in that I want you to start practicing doing. And we're just going to work on one thing, and then we're going to build on that, okay? So the nervous system check-in is one of my favorite things. So a few times a day, I want you to ask yourself, where am I right now? As far as how do I feel physically? Like, scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 5, whichever works for you. You don't, like, say 1 is like, I'm totally calm. Say a 10 is like forest fire and you're feeling just terrible. You don't have to wait until you're a 10 to start to help yourself to calm down, to feel better, right? So if you don't check in with yourself until nighttime when you're trying to go to sleep and you realize, oh my gosh, all day I've been living in this forest fire, fight or flight mode, it's going to be much harder to get yourself calmed back down when you're from like in a 10 forest fire mode, versus if you at breakfast were like, okay, where am I at right now? How did I wake up? Like, what number did I wake up on? And you're like, okay, I'm like a 4. Okay, well, why are you a 4? Right? Or if in the afternoon you're like, all right, I'm a 7. Okay, what can you do to calm yourself down? And that is a very personal question. It's different for everyone. I like 4, 7, 8 breathing. Right? I breathe in for a count of 4. I hold for a count of 7. I breathe out for a count of 8. And I repeat that 5 or 10 times. And it calms your nervous system down. It actually resets your nervous system. Is it you go and sit in the bathroom for an extra 30, 60, 90 seconds and just sit in the quiet? Nobody's bothering you. And you just have some positive affirmations that you tell yourself, right? Like, I'm safe. I'm okay. I am wonderful, I'm valuable, whatever your affirmations are, right? So what is something that you can do a few times a day when you do this check-in to see what your nervous system feels like, right? Are you feeling calm? Are you feeling fight or flight? Are you feeling freeze or fawn? We'll go over those things in another training as well. Ask yourself, check in with yourself regularly. It's easy to do it when it's either breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or every time you go to the bathroom. And people laugh when I say like all of these bathroom check-in things. But I say that because it's natural and you can't avoid it. Everybody's going to have to go to the bathroom at some point. It doesn't have to change your day, right? You don't have to add in this big block of time to change your day. It's already something you're doing. And if you spend an extra 30, 60, 90, 120 seconds in the bathroom, or if you even just say, because you're feeling like you need a break, you say, I have to go to the bathroom, nobody is going to say, well, why? right? It's an easy way for you to build in some reflection, some calming, some checking in with yourself time regularly throughout the day. So that is what I highly recommend. So that is your assignment to take away with from this training. And I would love your feedback. So if it has helped, let me know. This is something that can actually help you right now. The 4-7-8 breathing, like if you're doing that, and honestly, when I first heard it and started doing it, I'm like, this isn't going to work. This is too easy. This is stupid. It like I physically felt my body respond, right? And that's another thing when you're doing it, make sure you don't just do it once and give up. Go through the 4-7-8. Breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, breathe out for a count of 8, several times, 5 to 10 times. Really, it's only going to take a couple minutes. You can do it when you're driving, you can do it wherever, which is another reason it's a great strategy. But if you have one that you already know of that you like, that works for you, do that. So, in closing, I am so proud of you for being here. I'm happy that you're here. Your future has not happened yet. So give yourself credit for being here. Give yourself a vision for what you want your future to be and trust that you will get there. I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. I'll see you next time.